You are listening to Hardhouse History with Paul Glazby.
Rachel Auburn, welcome to Hardhouse History, and you really are Hardhouse History. You were one of the people that I really looked up to when I first started getting into the scene. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Why was that then? Thank you as well for the lovely
No
introduction.
worries.
But why was please tell me.
Because, well, I'll tell you exactly why. And I was going to come to this later, but we'll talk about it now. So, the CD that got me into Hard House was Pete Wardman's disc. Well, there was two. There was Pete Wardman's disc on Trade 4, which your track was on, The Machine Man.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh, see, she's that famous, she forgets that she's on that.
Yeah. To be honest, Paul, I don't remember all the tracks that I made, and
Right.
sometimes, not even that long ago, I'd be out somewhere or in a club, and I'd think, "Oh my god, this is great," and then I realise, "Oh yeah, I did that." So that's how bad it is. But seriously, yeah, okay, yeah, Machine Man.
Yeah. So that was on that, CD. So basically anything that's anything to do with that CD, I'm just in awe of. So, that was certainly, but even your other ones, the, Fifi Faux Farm, even though I ended up playing much harder sound, in those early days when I was just learning to mix and kind of not really knowing what my sound was, um, yeah, we used and some good friends of mine, so Tim Tom, who was, the guy that is responsible for me doing all the DJing really, because he's the guy that in our friend group that was the DJ, and he loved your stuff. Like, he was more like, sort of your stuff, Knuckleheads and that kind of sound was his
Yeah.
jam. So,
How old were
yeah.
you back then?
Sorry?
How old were you when you
I would have been,
started?
19 when I first started to mix. So I was quite late into the game, really.
If you think
It's,
you were late, I was late.
well, I mean, let's start with you. I mean, what was your, like, how did you, because this is what really the listeners of this show will get fed up with me saying this, but obviously it's the first time we've spoken in 25 years. The the people that made the scene, like, I came into it, Hard House was a thing and I came into it.
Mhm.
The likes of, you and Tony DeVee and Pete Wardman and E&M and, like,
Yeah.
Hard House scene didn't exist before you
No.
guys
No.
came along. So, y
No, it wasn't. It was kind of, when I really started DJing in the mid-80s at a gay club in London called Taboo. That was in Leicester Square, and it
mhm,
was run by, this guy called Lee Bowery, who was a friend of mine, and Lee Bowery became a performance artist, but it was through, I guess, like, our links, in fashion. He asked
mm,
me to DJ at this club. There weren't many other girly DJs around at that time, and I think he kind of asked me to DJ partly because maybe it was novel or maybe just, because he knew that I had a large collection of vinyl, early house tracks, but very more on the commercial tip, so things like Janet Jackson and that kind of thing, so lighter, maybe a bit of early Madonna even, John Jelly American stuff, basically. And then, it kind of, carried on from there because I didn't have the intention of being a DJ. It wasn't considered for me as a viable, career.
mm.
Also, I was still doing fashion design. That's how I started, my professional life. But then, I got asked to play other London, um, nightclubs. The next one on from Taboo was a big, I guess it was kind of slightly straighter, but it was, and it also was, a little bit more hip hop, and again, but early American house. It's called Delirium, and that was at
Okay.
Astoria in, on, I think it was Shaftesbury Avenue, top of almost where Tottenham Court Road is. That the DJs there were Noel and Maurice Watson. And I remember our opening night, I was upstairs in the kind of like the lounge, the cool lounge. The opening night downstairs, we had, yeah, the Beastie Boys and Run DMC. But I think it was just because they were in town and they came and did the after party at Delirium.
Oh, they
So,
were actually there. I thought you meant they
oh
were
yeah,
playing their music.
oh no, they were playing. They were
Ah,
there. I got a little bit more away from. I'd say a little bit more away from house and disco, and I got a little bit more into hip hop at that time. But more of the kind of definitely the funkier edge of hip hop, salt and peppery kind of more
okay,
commercial.
yeah.
But having said that, like the Beastie Boys, I just thought they were the best. Run DMC, I love them. That whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
The highlight of that time, I think, at Delirium was Africa Bambaataa, who had been a hero.
Mm.
Was in town in London, and the people running the club asked if he could come up and go through my vinyl record box and play for half an hour or so using my records. My records, how
Oh,
much. And so he did. So that was a huge moment. I can remember thinking, "Oh my god, I can't believe it! Africa Bambaataa
ah,
in the house playing my discs." So they were early days. That's how I really got into DJing, but not because I had a kind of like, "Oh my god, I've got to be a DJ." It was really by chance. And then a bit later, a few years later, I was still making fashion. One of the kids that was working for me was this guy called John, and he became John Please Women. You know?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he
The
he
guy that used to
started
get all dressed up like the
drag. He was
yeah,
drag, and
drag,
he
yeah, yeah.
he just suddenly took off. He did so well because he had such great taste in music, I thought anyway. Um, he he basically used to come to work, and he would come into work wearing beautiful John Galliano outfits, and I would say to him, "How are you getting on money to pay for this?" And he would tell me about his exploits in the clubs up and down up and down the country. So while I was still at the kind of, I guess, the end of my fashion career, sewing, literally saving over a sewing machine, another friend asked me to run a night in Hanover Square in London with him on a Friday night, and we called it Superstar Nightclub.
Mhm.
It was a gay mixed club, but probably I'd say veering more on the gay side. And by that time, I thought, okay, I got to employ DJs. I'll get John pleased. I'd met this amazing girl who'd given me and another girl who I was working with, sort of as a kind of like a sideline, as a hobby at Heaven. This girl called Paula. She'd given us a cassette of her mixing, and I really liked it, and I said, "Oh, I think you're great. I'm gonna employ you at our club." And she was Ayala, that was Sister Bliss.
Ah, right.
So we became really good friends. So I got her to DJ. I got John Please Women to DJ. There was me, this other amazing woman called Princess Julia, who still DJs in London. She doesn't make tracks, but she's a huge successful DJ. Um, yeah, and then it kind of carried on from there. But I wasn't sure what kind of like where I was going as a DJ until I went to trade, and that was a life-changing experience for sure.
Yeah.
And then I walked in and I realized, okay, I know exactly where I'm gonna be and what I'm gonna be doing for the next 15, 20 years. I mean, seriously,
Mm.
it was a life-changing experience going to that club for me.
It's a good job, but I'd never went. I mean, the CD changed my life, so if I'd gone to the club, it would have been next
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
Well, you had to be quite tough to go there, in as much as not intimidated by walking through an alleyway of muscle Marys with their tops off and kind of 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. So the physicality of that club was very, very high. The dance floor was just heaving, but it was incredible. So you had to roll with it. Yeah, and I used to go there with a few of my friends, and actually, Ayala, Sister Bliss was one of them, and she'd introduced me to John Truelark, who became my partner.
Yeah.
The other people we used to hang out there were Red Jerry. Do you know
Mhm.
Red Jerry? He used to
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
a
Huge
record
tunes.
shop that's it, him, in Camden. Jules, although Jules was actually doing a lot of DJing. He would DJ at that club on a Friday night with, Tall Paul Tall Paul
Jules
Newman.
as in Judge Jules?
Yeah, Jules.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in Judge Jules, because all
Right, yeah.
these guys, were friends from kind of North London, so
Yeah.
Camden, kind of, so they all knew each other anyway, yeah, it was just an amazing, amazing time. I remember that, at Trade, it was definitely Tony who just was the one that you had to kind of, like, really wait for. Um, and then Tall Pool actually was more so my I'd say what I thought for me really worked was the transition in style, music style, between Steve Thomas,
Mhm.
then Tony, and then Paul Newman, and it was just like, oh my god, like, euphoric, incredible, and they were, yeah, I'd say they're probably the main inspiration for me, for sure. That's probably
It's not bad.
uh,
If you're gonna be inspired by someone, that's a good trio for sure.
and then I thought my dream would be, wouldn't it just be amazing if I could make a track that one of those 3 DJs would play? And that was my goal and my aim, just to play something that one of those 3 guys would really, really, like, be like, "Oh, yeah, no, that's really, really good." And that kinda happened, so, yeah,
Mm.
it was
And you work
amazing.
with Paul Masterson on your stuff, is that right?
So, yes, exactly that. Paul Masterson or Yamanda had various aliases. Um, at the same time, I started going to Trade, I was offered a DJing job at Heaven on a Friday night at a night called Garage, where the other 2 main DJs on the main floor were Mrs. Woods and an amazing DJ called Blue Peter.
Mm.
Blue Peter probably was the main DJ of the night. His style was a lot more, I'd say it was kind of, European energy. So
Mm.
I wouldn't say hard house, I'd say veering on early trance,
Mm.
but kind of, faster and more chancier than the kind of style of music I realized that I could forge for myself. Mrs. Wood, who used to go on before Blue Peter on the main floor, would play harder, more techno-inspired, tracks. Um, and I was upstairs in the lighter room where I would be playing strictly rhythm, uh, kind of American housey tracks. It was, and the whole night was run by, a record label called React.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because Blue Peter he was involved with React somehow, was he?
Yeah, he did a lot of compilations. I
Yeah.
think he did most of their compilations, and I think, uh, Mrs. Woods did as well. So both of them, I would say, were also in the melting pot at that time, as far as I was aware of what was going on musically going forward. And that would have been around 1994. I think Trade had been going a while, but I'd come relatively late to Trade. Um, so yeah, 1993, 1994. Um, yeah, I was upstairs. Paul Masterson used to love hanging out in my DJ space.
Mhm.
He liked the more houseier, the kind of, uh, tougher beats, but slower. So I would say more like an American Strictly Rhythm, if you know what I mean by Strictly Rhythm, that label. Do you know
Oh,
Strictly
the
Rhythm?
label, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So kind of like houseier, but not quite as minimal or as trancey as either Jane or Peter, but with a euphoric musical breakdown in the track. So Paul said to me, would I go and do a track with him, go and do something? And I said, I'd love to. And I went to his studio and we came up with Fifi Faux Farm.
Yeah, I remember it, with that weird sort of like, the sleeve was like like almost like a cartoon. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That came about because I'd met American trans because Candy's a trans woman.
Yeah.
In another club where she was doing a PA. She had various aliases such as Mad Hatter Helen, Sweet Pussy Pauline.
I remember that one.
And do you remember Sweet Pussy Pauline? And
'Cause that was on one of the other tracks, was it not? Or
yes,
the yeah,
so exactly. So Candy J had all these various aliases. Was and had been a Chicago house singer. Lived in Chicago with uh, with her lovely garage mechanic partner. It was quite funny. She'd literally thrown copies of her vinyls out into the audience at another club that I was working at as a promoter and a bit of a DJ. And she'd thrown one of these vinyls and it hit me on the head. And I thought, oh, well, I'll have it anyway. And it happened to be on one side, the a cappella that Paul and I used when we came to make our Fifi Faux Farm. So literally, I'd been working in garage. I'd started going to trade.
Yeah.
That was the club. I was hanging out with Blue Peter, Mrs. Wood, John, Ayala, Sister Bliss, because Sister Bliss hadn't really become Sister Bliss. That was sort of happening around the same time with Rollo, who was also part of that North London kind of boys scene who would hang out at trade. And then that track got signed by Virgin, and it was just out of the blue, one of those life-changing moments when you just like you're just running around having a great time, and then something like that happens. So for me, that was life-changing. Again, another moment. All
And did
happened around 93, 94, 95.
and did that one get into the charts? Was it that one?
That got to, I think it got to maybe 25 or something.
Yeah,
And we followed up with a track called Wham Bam,
One
and
band,
that got higher. That got to 20. So in the national charts.
So does that mean you were on top of the pops?
I wasn't.
Oh.
Sadly, we
Sweet
missed
Pussy
it.
Pauline was.
Paul was on top of the pops with his next track, which was called Synth and Strings.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big track, Yamanda.
Yeah.
But while I was doing tracks with Paul in his studio, suddenly other record companies would ask Candy Girls to remix some of their
Right.
styles or big hits, like JX, Son of a Gun was one of them. And the other one was Felix, Don't You Want Me? So Paul and I got to remix Felix. And that was the track that Tony, our mix of Don't You Want Me by Felix, that Tony absolutely loved. So that was the first track that I could say I had any hand in, which I did, that Tony picked up and really liked. And I remember like, oh my God, like Tony came and, because he was such a darling as well, came and just chatted to me about how we did it. And it was just, yeah. So my producing career kind of took off from then onwards, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So the Fee Fi Fur Fun, was that not like a big record in trade? I imagined it would be.
It was what would be considered too handbaggy, the main mix.
Right.
Luckily for us, gorgeous George and Stephen, who were the Sharp Boys, who I'd met at Heaven, because one of them, Stephen, was working for React, James Horrocks and Thomas Foley, who were React. Stephen and George, the Sharp boys, Sharp brothers, Sharp boys, yeah,
Sharp Boys. Yeah.
were also starting their musical production, and they had a very distinct sound as well.
Sound. Yeah.
It kind of evolved again from a little bit from the kind of sound that Malcolm, or the kind of music that Malcolm Duffy, who was another DJ at Trade, but in the Trade Light room, was developing. Anyway, they mixed Fi for us, and it became a big Trade hit, but not Tony. It would be maybe Tall Paul would play Fi,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and that mix, their remix, kind of like probably did better on the scene than Fi. Fi was more of a big handbaggy kind of a big main floor dance around your handbag mix.
Yeah. It might have been the Sharp Boys mix that I played. Actually, I can't remember. I definitely remember the sleeve and obviously the vocal. It's so distinctive. But yeah, going back to the Sharp Boys, they're making a comeback, aren't they? They're all over the place at the minute. I'm hoping to get them on the show soon.
George has went on Ableton producing course.
Oh, right.
Not recently, and he told me that it was just like it's changed his life, and they've gone right back, and he said, "Oh, we're turning out the tracks," and I think I mean, they're just great, they're just brilliant. They're kind of I think they cleaned up their lifestyle, their partying days quite a lot, and they're really on it. I mean, they always were a great combination of Stephen, who liked the more poppy side of things, i.e. the Pet Shop Boys, Mariah Carey, that kind of sound, with George, who liked the funkier American kind of stripped back, but still very groovy bass line, but very percussive. So their sound was very percussive.
Yeah.
Would never be a big kind of can I say a big hard house anthem, because their sound was always slightly in the background. You know, they would never. I don't think they would ever go into the studio and think, we're going to make a big track that doesn't sound like anything else, that is groundbreaking, or the best thing that they'd ever done. They always had this. It was always, they just want to make great tracks in their style that forged a kind of like a unique sound of their own.
Yeah. I had John Langford, Knuckleheads.
Lovely guy, yeah. Love him.
Yeah, great guy.
If you're listening to this.
He was on a few weeks ago, but I was saying to him, I'm sure I said it to him. If I didn't say it, I thought it, that Knuckleheads and Sharp Boys are just hearing the percussion. You could just hear the first 30, 40 seconds of an intro and you'd know it's them. You know, like they just had that style. Like you said, it was they nailed their sound.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Knuckleheads, John Langford had that same kind of, they always wanted a very driving, percussive sort of sound. I think the Sharp Boys definitely had a kind of distinctive bass line as well that they repeated in their early tracks over and over again. And it was quite different. I think I realized pretty early on that I was going to use this offbeat bass line. When I started producing my own tracks, I knew that's what I was going to, because actually, I think maybe in a sort of Paul James style, because he was the producer that I admired the most.
Yeah.
In terms of, I kind of felt his sound for me was very driving, kind of very percussive, and kind of sexy. And then I loved his bassline sound. So that to me was the thing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, went
No,
off
no,
on a
no. It's, but no, you're right. And Paul, he's such a lovely guy as well. Because I did a few tracks with Paul over the years, and I'm hoping to get him on the show as well. But I don't. Can you remember the Untidy Dubs
Yeah.
mix of Fine Night? Remember that? Um, oh God, the vocal. I'm sure the girl that did the original was from Sheffield. Gonna be a fine night tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That one. The Untidy Dubs on that is amazing. But I can see how like Untidy Dubs, Sharp Boys, Knuckleheads, and Your Sound would, all those tracks would be perfect in a set together.
For sure. And, I think, I I I think I kind of liked all of them, but I also really loved Tony. I loved Pete Wardman.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely adored him. A and again, hi, Pete, if you ever get to see this. Um, but I think that I think Tony was the one who managed to bridge all the kind of like styles and
Yeah.
kind of like somehow cement kind of what was going on at the kind of lighter end of trade. And
Yep.
then I guess he was the kind of like, because the kind of like the pinnacle of the night at trade, even though I would never have considered Tony a techno DJ because I always thought he liked a big camp riff in his tracks.
Mm.
There was always some um, kind of melody. So I think is it Paul King who produced with Tony?
Well, Paul King I don't know if he ever produced with him. He did a couple of tracks that Tony put out on Jump Wax. Um,
I
or Jump
was
Wax, or he was called Format One on
F,
Jump
that's
Wax. Yeah,
that's
F1, yeah, yeah. So he basically, because he was telling me when he came on that he used Format One on Jump Wax, and then when he started doing stuff on Triply tracks, he had to have a different name. So he used F1, and then when he did stuff on Tidy tracks, he used Trauma, and yeah, so he
okay.
had so a little bit like Paul Masterson, he had all these different aliases, but yeah, a very distinctive sound for him as well. But he did have a lot of the big, big riffs, massive build, like a 3-minute build up, and yeah, I loved his stuff. I still do.
Yeah, no, totally. Me too. I think for me, did he do that remix of "Hold That Sucker Down"? Builds like a skyscraper. Was that talking? I don't know. I get
No, I
confused.
can't remember, to be honest. No, I don't know. I'm sure someone will add it into the comments on YouTube when this is out, because there's a lot of train spotters out there.
Okay.
So that's taking us to sort of that mid. I think from what you're saying there, we're kind of in that 94, 95 by this
Yeah.
stage.
Candy Girl.
Yeah, and then, like I said, Trade for that came out in '97, and your Machine Man was on there with the. In fact, I'll just tell you this little anecdote, because the Machine Man, that's the with the vocals from James Brown.
For
That's
sure,
right?
yeah.
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 Well, I've just done so I've had this recent comeback. Like, I've been away from the scene for over 10 years, well over 10 years. Um, and then through doing this podcast, it's got me back into the scene. So now I'm playing again. I'm making tracks again. I think I'm probably like one of the most prolific producers around at the minute, because I've just been churning these tracks out. I did a track called Super Bad, which came out on Tidy Tracks a few weeks
Love the
ago,
title.
and the vocals are obviously James Brown. There's the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the count, and then the Super Bad. But after I'd finished it, I'm like, this is my Machine Man. That's what it felt like.
Well, I I, um, I think where did I do that? I think I did it with, um, I think I did it with a guy called William Burroughs, and I think
Okay.
William was studio engineer at Effective Records.
Right.
Effective, and I think that was Simon Hansen and Lawrence Nelson's, Tag Records. So the guys that did that track, Gap Decor, Passion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
remember them? It was
Mm.
I think that was their studio, and William, I think he was called Zero B and had done a track called
Ah,
Lock Up,
Lock Up,
which
yeah.
was also, an early trade anthem, and I think it was Malcolm Duffy who'd promoted that. But I think, yeah, 0B, because I didn't know what 0B, I didn't realize it meant no money.
Oh,
0
right, okay.
zero dollar. Um, yeah, we went in and I said to him, "Okay, we're gonna do the most driving, full on, like, nonstop, energetic track that I can possibly do." And, yeah. God, isn't it funny when you do all these tracks and you think, "Oh, if I could do that again, I would definitely edit out this, and I would definitely do this, and this." Do you do that with your tracks that you've done?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I had this conversation with someone the other day that the nice thing now is that, like, back in the
Mhm.
day when I was having to, I had the record label and there was deadlines to meet. You had to sort of, because when we're pressing vinyl, you had to get the track to have the, the plates cut by a certain date so that they'd get to the pressing plant to be,
Oh,
because you'd have
why
every.
why did you have a deadline then? Were you doing tracks for a record company?
Well, I had Vicious Circle Recordings, which was my
Oh, so
label.
so
Yeah,
you
so
oh, okay.
yeah, so if we wanted to put a release out, say the last Friday or the last Monday or whatever of each month,
Right.
then we had to make sure things were done. So sometimes you do a track and it'd be like, okay, that's good enough. And it went out. Whereas what I'm finding now, I'm doing tracks again. There's no pressure. Like I can put a track out whenever I want. Doesn't really matter. So I can
It's the
do the
best.
track and then sit on it for a few weeks, listen to it about 1,000 times while I'm driving around in the car, and
Right.
then go back and change a few bits. And it's quite
Right.
liberating because I've never had that. It was always just in the studio, 8 hours, get it done, it's gone, and move on. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so it's nice to be able to sort of adjust as we go a little bit.
I just think, yeah, I definitely listen back and I think, "Oh, I wish I'd spent a little bit more time." I was never under pressure to turn out tracks. I just
Mm.
sounds a bit more like how you are now in that kind of position, but I would think I'd think, "Oh, yeah, no, that's really, really good." I used to think everything was really, really good that I'd done, and then I think years later, I think, "Oh my god, like, why didn't I do that to the bass, or why didn't I make that kick?" Or, that kind of thing.
Mm.
But it's, yeah, I look back and I think, I just can't believe that I did the things that I did, and I think, "Is this the same person?" I don't know if you about the tracks that you made back in the
Oh,
day.
definitely, yeah. I mean, there's sometimes there's tracks I've done where I'm like, "I can't believe I did that because it's so good," and then sometimes I'm like, "I can't believe I did that because it's so bad."
Oh, oh, okay, what track are you most proud of that you did back in the day?
There's a track called Alien Animal, which
I know,
is,
I
I
don't recognize.
think, is the last really good track that I did, because I've been putting this album together recently, and it's like it spans 25 years, so it's 2001 to 2026 of stuff that I've made, and the what I've realized is that I can't remember the what year it was, but towards the back end of me producing kind of the first time, some of the I'm not putting them on the album because I'm just like, ugh, they're just kind of throwaway, like. But Alien Animal, I think, is the last of the really good things that I did, and that's I just love the track. So
Yay.
yeah, that's probably one of them. Yeah. But
And
then Kick It, which is the first thing that it's not the first thing I did. Sorry, it was um, probably the fourth track or something that I produced, but it's the first thing that people know of mine. And that's always got a place in my heart, even though I don't really play it much anymore because I've kind of played it to death. Like when people ask you, even though I've just done the 2025 remix of it to sort of celebrate 25 years, but that is, um, yeah, that's always something to sort of, just because, I get a royalty statement and it's still one of the highest grossing tracks for me all these years later, which is crazy, like something you do
mm,
so long ago and it still has an impact.
absolutely,
So.
absolutely. Did you have a light bulb moment when you realized that this is what you liked and this is where you thought that you could go with making your sound or producing your sound that was unique to you?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's kinda hard to remember, to be honest, but I always knew Like I was watching an episode of the Tidy Boys podcast with. Did you ever meet Paul Maddox? Do you know Paul Maddox?
I do, because I've done a track with him quite recently, last
Oh,
year,
excellent. Oh,
up in
wow. Okay.
Yard in London, yeah, for
Right.
Tidy.
Right. Okay. I need to
Very,
listen to
very
that.
lucky man. And
But
I
yeah,
love
Paul,
this guy.
he's one of my favorite people in the world. He's such a nice guy and so clever as well. But he was on the Tidy Boys podcast, and for some reason they kind of tangented off, and they were talking about Vicious Circle, like my record label, and saying how it had kind of filled the gap between, kind of where Tidy Tracks finished in terms of like how hard their tracks would be, and then we sort of picked up from there and went on. But I always had this thing where I wanted to be like, I'm a big Metallica fan. I always have been since I've been 13 years
Okay.
old,
Okay.
and
I
like
can see that. I can see the link. I can see
yeah, exactly. The reason I like Metallica is because they've still got the substance. They've got the melody. You can hear the vocals. You can understand what he's saying. Whereas, like, I mean, I do like bands like Pantera, but there's some of the heavy metal that you can't understand what the guy's saying, and everything kind of, it's just hard for the sake of being hard. Whereas Metallica never were. They always had substance. So I always wanted to be like the hard house equivalent of that. In that the music was hard, but it had
Oh, that's so
substance.
great. I love it.
Yeah,
I
so that
get
was
it.
my
I
kind of
get it.
yeah.
I see. And what can I ask you? I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah,
Were
yeah, this is a turn the
were
tables, go on.
hold on. Was there a club that you walked into, in England or in another country that you thought was, "Wow, this is just like where I wanna be, where I wanna be playing," or, "This is the sound that I kind of feel like, oh, this is just the best."
I
But
think for me
in the way that I wanted to make, a track or tracks that would be or could possibly be played at Trade, for example.
yeah, well, I mean, I fell in love with the whole scene at a club called Rise, which you may have played at actually, Rise in the
Right. Yeah,
Leadenhall
I
in Sheffield.
remember it. I do remember
Yeah.
it, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It was like club of the year for a few years, for like for a Friday night. It was amazing. And that's where I started clubbing when I was 19. Um But then they weren't a hard house club, they were more housey, I guess, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew that going out with my friends and meeting all these new people and, doing the substances that we do to sort of help us get through the night just created this whole thing, for me. But I guess, uh, to answer your question, clubs like well, I mean, Insomniacs for me is always a special place, but the thing is with
Yeah.
Insomniacs,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
had so many different venues that it's hard to like, I think I was probably at my most, um, inspired when Insomniacs was at the corporation. I remember being
Oh,
they had the 2 rooms there, and, like, there's a mix that I do, and people still come up and ask me, when people come up and ask you to play a track,
yeah.
but people come and ask me to do this mix. Do that mix you do with The Dawn and the, Pants and Corset remix of, Shush Listen, the, Shh,
Yeah.
Be
Yeah,
Quiet,
yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
track,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I remember being in the club and just thinking, "Oh, I wonder if this'll work," and then mixed in the Shush Be Quiet into the Paul James remix of The Dawn, and where I drop it is as the Hoover comes in towards the end on James's mix of The Dawn, then the "Shh, be quiet" comes, and it's doing it over the Hoover, and then the kicks come in on both tracks together, and
You
so
see, moments like that are just wonderful and magic
yeah,
and kind of like just fantastic and creative and completely original. And I just think, like, if you've managed to achieve something like that, I mean, just, thank God that you were able to. I totally know what you mean. And it
yeah,
those moments and those kind of like combinations are just out of this world. So
yeah,
yeah.
and I think it's
I
hard to explain. Anyone that doesn't mix music like when Fergie was on, he was saying, you can buy anyone can buy that record and buy that record, but it's the mix that that you're creating. It's the 3rd track, I call it.
think, personally speaking, I found that easier, to achieve in a studio as opposed to on the decks. So for me, it would be that moment when I would be in a studio because I always worked with another engineer. So, for example, on all the early things that I did that I kind of thought that I'm proud of in the way that you are with, you know, your tracks were the earlier things that I did with an engineer called Andy Alder. I don't know if you know
Oh, Andy
him.
Alder, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he used to work with, Karim, I think.
I think so, and
Yeah.
also he and Dave Cross, because they had another guy called Dom Grant, and I think
Right.
they had a label. I can't remember the name of it. Oh my god, it's terrible. But there's those moments when you just look at each other and you just think, "Oh my god, like that is really that's really
Yeah.
something," or "Wow." Yeah, I mean, like, that's what I lived for. I really lived for that more than I did, as a DJ, because I never thought that, I thought my technical abilities live, maybe because of nerves or lack of concentration or whatever, weren't as, were eclipsed by what I was able to do in the studio, which I
Yeah,
found
yeah,
more my kind of like home, for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I understand that. Um,
So,
but to
yeah.
answer your question, yeah, sorry, I sort of went off on a tangent there. So I guess Storm at the Emporium, because that
Oh, yes.
Storm it's only ever been at that club as far as I'm aware. Like, so when you play Storm, you know where they've moved the DJ box around, so the kind of the view that you get as a DJ can change. But yeah, that club is like to make a track that you know someone else is playing in. Like for me, you know, like if I make a track and E&M plays it, I'm like,
Oh yeah, of course, because I've always, because Ian used to at Trade, sorry, big respect, Ian. After Tony, before Paul, it would be Ian, wouldn't it, as well, at Trade?
yes,
Do you remember the lineup? And I just, God, maybe that was always kind of, I'm gonna tell you something here. I didn't indulge in heavy, ecstasy at all. I definitely I mean, I did speed, and I think, a bit of speed, but I couldn't do E because, I just didn't work with me as on my system. But I
yeah,
think I think, I remember, like, maybe Tony would be, like, the pinnacle for me, and then I'd have to go out of the room, and that would probably be, um, probably maybe where I missed out maybe a lot on Ian, because I know that he
right,
was hugely influential,
yeah,
for sure. So and then I think I might
yeah.
come back later for the last, like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a set that Ian played in, the Archers in Sheffield. So a friend of mine, Andy Usher, he used to run events, and I was playing I played after I think it was the night that I played after Ian, and it was the night that I basically, um, stopped taking drugs, like, that night, or at least when I was playing, like, because Ian played, who was, like, my hero, and then I went on after him and struggled through this, you know, I can't remember if it was an hour or 2 hours, but I was all jittery and, you know, like,
Oh,
it was
oh,
awful. And that's
oh,
when I said, "I'm not doing it anymore." Like, if I'm gonna make a success of this thing, which I never thought I'd do what I did, it was like, you know, if I could just be playing regularly, around town, you know, that's what I was thinking as success.
amazing. Yeah, I
Uh,
get you.
but I thought, I can't do both, I've gotta do one or the other, so I chose the DJing. But that set that Ian played, I wish I could go back and listen to it now. But I remember me and my friends just going, "What the hell is this?" It was just we'd never heard anything like it, it was unbelievable.
Oh,
Um, but, yeah, Ian's
oh,
such
it's
a
amazing. Those moments when you're just completely transported, or just like you look at the person you're with, your friend, your mate or something, and you both know that, like,
yeah,
you're both experiencing, like, "Ugh, like, what the
yeah.
is this?"
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember driving back, it might have been on those weekends when you used to DJ and you start on a Friday or a Thursday even, but it'd be a Friday for me, and then Saturday, and then you'd be up in Hull or somewhere up north, and then you have to come back down,
Y
to London, and I would probably end up in Vauxhall.
mm,
Can't remember the name of the club in, Under the Arches in Vauxhall. Vince, it was run by a guy called Vince. It was great. Um, And I remember, like, me and my driver had this girl, Linda, drive for me, and I remember Commander Tom, I Am I. Do you remember that track? Is it
Oh,
Am
yeah.
I or
RM
I Am I? And
RMI, yeah.
we had to stop, and I don't neither of us were on jogs, and we just I think the sun was rising, and we just pulled over, and just the two of us, and blasted it, and it was just, oh my god, what the hell is this? Anyway, yeah, those moments, absolutely. I remember as well another track. It was a trance track. I remember hearing it for the first time, and it was in it would have been in Leeds or Sheffield or Derby. I can't remember the name of the club that I used to play in Derby. Oh my god, my memory is terrible. But anyway, it wasn't me playing. It was a DJ before, and he played uh BBE, 7 days in 1 week.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember, like, thinking, "What the hell is this?
Yeah.
How amazing." He must have had a really early, like, it was before it was released. I
Mm.
think it was released on XL or something like that. Um,
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, yeah. Was it or Positive? Or one of
Posit
those, isn't it? Yeah,
Positiva. Um,
yeah.
and I just thought, like, what? Anyway, yeah, no, those moments, absolutely, like,
There's a guy called, I don't know if you know Steve Maynard, he's one of the, sort of,
yes, I know
yeah.
his name, can't think.
Well, he's just done a cover version of that.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good, yeah, like a hard version of it, yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
So now
Amazing.
we're kind of 96, 97, and what I wanted to sort of touch on, because obviously you were part of the Tidy Girls, and
Yeah,
when Anne Savage came on, she was saying that a lot of people think that, I mean, you know, the Tidy Boys and Tidy Tracks as a whole has helped a lot of us over the years, and, but Anne was saying that, you know, some people think that it was that made her who she is, but she got quite an extensive career before the
sure.
Tidy Girls, and obviously, you know, you as well. So in those years, obviously you said about Mrs. Woods, there's you, um, Sister Bliss,
Um, yeah.
but you know, like, being a female DJ must have been like rocking horse shit back then.
Well, back in when I first started, there weren't any other straight girl DJs that I was aware of. When I say straight girls, there was a huge, gay lesbian, scene in London.
Right, okay.
Um, there was a Thursday night, called Venus Rising in Brixton at the Fridge that was phenomenal. I mean, it was so busy. It was jam-packed. Um I don't remember the name of the DJs, um, but also on the gay scene, there were Queen Maxine and Vicky Red. There's another girl DJ called Vicky Edwards, who I didn't really know, but there was also Lisa Loud, and of course there was
Oh, yeah.
Smoking Joe, who I didn't really get to know very well, but she was getting, a lot of work, and she was a really, really good technical DJ. But I think the difference was I don't think any of them early on were, producing, and I think, like, I remember, like, when I met Ayala, Sister Bliss, I remember her, um, saying to me because she couldn't get work as a DJ, I mean, and I think I gave her one of her first, residency at this
Right.
club, as I say, called Superstar Nightclub, because I just thought her mixing and her musical kind of ability just was so outstanding. I'd never heard anything as good as what she was able to do. This is only London, 'cause I don't know what was going on
Yeah.
outside of London. And then she said, I remember her saying to me, "Oh, I want to be the best DJ in the country." This was her aim. Um,
Right.
and I was thinking, what I liked was she didn't say, "I want to be the best woman DJ." She just said,
Mm.
"I want to be the best DJ." And I think, like, at the same time, she started making tracks with Rollo, and I think this was before the guy singer that they got in. Anyway, around that time, and so there were a few others. Um, Julia, but I'm trying to think how for me, it didn't really happen as a DJ until I started producing. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it was seriously that. And I never considered myself anything. I didn't think of myself as, oh, I'm a woman in this world or on this scene. I never made that kind of what's the word, distinction.
Yeah.
It's a kind of odd thing because people say, "Oh, as a woman DJ, you should be, or you are, maybe you could have been amongst the first who kind of like broke into the scene." And I think, I just didn't ever think of it like that. I just thought, just want to do the best that I can. I didn't think of it, but as a woman or as opposed to a guy.
Yeah.
But, and I think all of the girls on Tidy, just brilliant people, brilliant producers in their own right. Doesn't matter if I suppose they're girls, but I guess it's just an angle or a kind of like, well, these are girls and they are. I don't think you should ever compare yourself in that way.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's quite difficult because I often get asked this, and I remember like getting like saying, "Oh, no, I never considered myself." It was just like Ayala who just said, "I want to be the best DJ," or "I want to be a pop star." It wasn't as a woman; it was just in
Yeah.
her own right. And I thought, yeah, that's I
Yeah,
laugh.
you got to, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, so happy to be asked to do tracks for Tidy. I think before Tidy Girls, I'd done a remix of Rimshot, and it was called Everybody on the Floor,
Mm.
um, for Untidy Dubs.
Yep.
And I think they were really pleased with what I'd come up with. Um, and I thought, yeah, Tidy Girls was such an obvious thing to do, but really great. I'm so glad that they did.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
I found making that track quite hard. Screwdriver. That was quite funny.
So who
I
did you was that with Paul Janes or?
No, with Ammo. With
Oh, you
Ammo.
did with Ammo, right.
Me and Ammo. And I remember like thinking, oh, this is my chance to get to work with Paul James. Because I thought the two of us together would be like the best. Because as
Yeah.
I said, I really, really liked his bassline sound. It was
Yeah, yeah.
very warm and very kind of bit like a reggae offbeat bassline, and that's kind of like what I felt was my natural place.
Mm.
So yeah, so it was me and Amma, and I remember like, I think we did it in like a day. Didn't come up with where we were going to go with the track until maybe late in the afternoon. And then I remember like everything I did, Ammo kept saying to me, "Make the kick harder. We'd make the kick harder," and it was quite unnatural for me
Right, yeah.
to do such a hard kick. But yeah, it took a day. But like you, now I would spend as long as it took for me to make a track that I felt kind of happy with, was never under any pressure. My only regret is that even though I say I'd like to redo some other tracks, I wish I'd doubled the number of tracks that I'd made
Mm.
in that
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that space of time that I managed to do.
yeah. Did you ever know, I'm just thinking the circles that you were moving in, like Baby Doc, did you know Baby Doc?
Loved him. Quinton, John the
Clinton, yeah.
Dentist, I loved both of them. John, I think both of them really talented. John the Dentist also was kind of driving the scene, I would say, but not in London. He was I think he was I can't remember where he was living before he moved, because I think he moved to Cardiff.
Right.
Uh, yeah, Mantra to the Buddha, John the Dentist, and
There's,
Quentin and Baby Dot. And
yeah.
both of them, really, really liked them. I think their sound for me was kind of a little bit more trancey, techno
Yeah.
trancey, whereas I was definitely on the more hard edge, kind of maybe handbaggy, sexier. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I think it became called bounce. I think
Right,
that
yeah, yeah,
maybe was part of probably pushing.
yeah.
Um, but I knew both of them and I really liked both of them. And I was really upset when they had a bit of a falling out. I think they did, yeah.
Right.
Pyramid as well was a John the Dentist CD that I really, really liked.
Oh,
And
okay, yeah.
Very musical.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, well, Baby Doc's always been one of my sort of, favorite, producers, and then I can't even remember how I got introduced to him because 'cause I'd only ever he was like a bit of like an enigma, like as if he almost didn't exist. Because it's not like I would see him, like Paul King, for example, who's another favorite of mine, but like I knew who Paul was. I'd spoken to him. I ended up doing tracks with him fairly early on, like 2003.
Okay.
But Baby Doc, the only interaction I'd ever had with him was we started a label called Resurrection, and what we were doing is licensing
Okay.
older tracks and then redoing them. We're actually just about to relaunch that label, but under the banner Hardhouse History. So this ethos is the same, where we license an old track, do a remix, and in fact, I've got one. When I'm not going to tell it now, I can't announce it yet, but when we finish, I'll tell you because I think you'll be quite excited. Um, the but anyway, we'd I think it was the very first release we licensed Meltdown, and
Oh,
BK
yeah.
did a remix,
Oh,
and
wow.
Quentin called me and he's like, "You've ripped my track off. This is a track of mine." Like, and I'm like, "Mate, I've not ripped it off. It's not. I didn't do the track." And he's like, "Yeah, but this one you've put out, it copies." And I
Really?
can't remember what he said the track was. Anyway, when I went back and listened, I'm like, "Oh shit, that does sound like it." But I said to him, I said, "You do realize this is like an old track? Like it's been out for years, and we've just re-released it."
Right.
Anyway, we had a nice conversation in the end, and that was it. And that's the only interaction I'd ever had with him. And then I somehow got reintroduced to him, and I invited him on the show, and yeah, we had a great podcast. And he's actually coming on again. He messaged me because the weird thing now is that at nearly 50 years old, I get messages from him, and the new tracks that he's doing, he just sends to me now, and I'm
That's
like a kid
amazing.
in a sweet shop, because
That's
this guy that
brilliant.
I've looked up to for so long, he just sends me his tracks now,
That's
and
brilliant. I mean, I remember
then
sharing at one point towards, when I stopped making tracks, which was around the time I did this thing called, Come On with Breather, and I was working with this guy called Seb in Clerkenwell, and Quentin used to have a studio next door, and quite often he would and he'd say, "Come and listen to this." And I would go down to his because it was underground. Both of our studios were underground. And he would, like, play something, and it would be like, oh my god, it would, like it blast my ears off. It was so, like, so, like, whoa, like
thumping.
dry and, like,
Yeah, yeah.
thumping, yeah, pumping, thumping. So I saw a lot of him then because it was you'd go out and have a ciggy or, something in the open air, like, between
Yeah.
the studio spaces.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just such a sweet guy and just so talented, both of them. John Bourne, John the dentist as well,
Yeah.
really. I think, like, I always thought that they kind of, like, they could have gone so much further, like, both of them. I really do, and I kind of feel like, oh, like, I mean, I'm sure they would laugh at me for saying that, but, I really do think both of them so talented. I'm glad to hear that you're working with, Quentin with Baby Doll, yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah, he's a great guy, yeah. So, and then your other, um, sort of passion is fashion, rhymes.
Okay.
Um,
It's not now, but it was. That's really how I got onto the scene, if you like, in London.
right. 'Cause I guess
Um,
at the time, all that sort of, like the club culture and fashion and everything, like, all those people are just it's like a big melting pot, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like, I went to gay clubs when I was probably 14 in
Uh-huh.
Brighton, and that's probably where my love of music, really dance music, came from. Um, yeah, I suppose, and electronic dance music. I was never I love that you were into Metallica and heavy metal. I was totally the opposite.
Right.
I just was just a disco queen. I couldn't help it. It's just disco,
Yeah.
disco. Giorgio Moroder. I then got into, when I was, because I went to art college in London in the, very late '70s, early '80s, and I did a fashion degree. So I actually
Wow.
did 4 years of fashion, 1 year in Brighton, and then 3 years in Harrow, but sort of northwest London. And I would just go to gay clubs all the time. I was at the very end of the Blitz new romantic scene, But my best friend at that time was a guy called Stephen Luscombe, who
Right.
became Blancmange. I don't know if you remember Blancmange? Neil Arthur, Living on a Ceiling. Do
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So him and I used to go to all the clubs in London, and that's really where I was actually doing fashion back in
Right.
the early 80s. And that's, as I say, that's how I got into becoming a DJ, because I love disco, dance music so much. I did like hip hop a little bit. I could never go with heavy metal. It's interesting how it's reflecting later, right? How the kind of music that you would make would be more of that kind of like more driving, more kind of like
Yeah,
minimal.
yeah.
And whereas I would always have to have some kind of like maybe a bit of handbag in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
Something very, very dancey and rhythmical.
yeah. It's
But
funny as well because sorry, go on.
no, I was gonna say, I was thinking also, like, I thought Giorgio Moroder and kind of like the German Kraftwerk were the best things ever, with a bit of Nile Rodgers, kind of like thrown in. That's really my background, where I liked, dance music and a bit of early hip hop,
Mm.
rap. Oh yeah, DJ Rap. Because of course, also in London, I'm just thinking of other girls, even though we're talking about it. She was a really big DJ as well, but it was on a different scene, and it was yeah, drum and bass. That was
Right.
kind of developing alongside, maybe a little bit after, maybe the hard house scene.
Mm. Yeah, when Chris Liberator, I don't know if you know Chris Liberator, the
Yeah, I do.
acid techno DJ. Yeah, so when he was on, and we were talking about how, like, a lot of people seem to think there's just this one route to how, Hard House, for example, became a thing, like it evolved from such and such. But we were saying, because his entry into what he does was through punk, and my background was heavy metal, and it's all these sort of things converge to create this harder music. And obviously, there's so many different facets of that as well. Yeah, it's, they'll write books about it one day, Rachel. I'm sure, or
I
maybe
think
someone will start a podcast.
yeah. Well, I think so. I think it's really good also to kind of chase these things back, and then look at kind of like where things are going forward. And I'm always interested. Sometimes I go on YouTube or something, and I'll look and see what DJs are really like progressing or going forward or making something. And I kind of don't really see. I I kind of see a sort of progression, but generally speaking, not a lot. And I kind of feel like, um, I guess, like, who the ones I like? I like this girl, is she called Hannah Lang?
Hannah Lang,
Han
yeah,
I love her sound, but I kind of, see it as being quite derivative of a kind of maybe, Lisa Lash's kind of that time. So maybe, Anne and, Lisa Pinnup. Um But also with, like, something really kind of, like, very like, much shorter in kind of, like, length, the tracks that they seem to be
yeah,
making, but
yeah.
just kind of everything, like, right in your face and these big breakdowns. And then I see who's the I think she might be German girl who did a really nice remix of, Jam and Spoon. No, not Jam and Spoon. What is it Jam and Spoon? I can't remember, sorry, Paul, I've lost the plot.
Oh, it's
Uh,
alright. No worries.
Age
Yeah,
of
there's a
Love.
I think
Age of Love.
oh, Age of Love, right, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Can't
Oh,
remember
I
her
think,
name.
yeah, no, I can't remember her name. There's a girl that I think she's German, called Bayer.
Oh,
Um, yeah, she's like her sound is like me and Dave the drummer. Like if Glazby and Dave the drummer had a love child, that's the sound, it's that sort of real, and she plays at like 160 BPM, which is even faster than I play,
oh,
so,
wow. Wow.
but that's the funny thing, like, these days, unless I'm just seeing, maybe my algorithm's sort of programmed to just show me the female DJs, I don't know, but it seems to be that it's prolific now, that the female DJ is like there seems to be a lot more female DJs in this younger, and they're all like, models, and he's just,
I know, I know.
he seems to be more about the look now, even though what they're playing is like, well, some of it is great, but,
Oh,
um, yeah, it's,
but I think
there's a
I think that's true of male DJs as well. I think that the personality and the look is all part of it. I mean, I can't think of any ugly male DJs or unattractive male DJs because I think, like, even if, because I think apart from for me, DJing, my idea was that hopefully I told some kind of story in a
really,
set.
yeah.
I don't know if you ever considered that. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
But then I would kind of like, oh god, I've lost what I was going to say again. Um, I think if you're able to do that, you're in you're like being mom, if you like. You're being in charge of the family, which is the
Yeah.
kids' dance floor. So you're kind of like people are going to look to you, and you like the way you present is definitely part of the whole thing as well, the whole experience. Even if it's like difficult to actually see a DJ from a distance, or if they're hidden in a booth, there's always this. You always I think, like, I don't think you can be a really successful DJ without having some kind of presence,
Yeah.
of some kind.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know,
No,
maybe I'm
yeah,
just
I know
being
what you
really
mean. It's
silly.
like when I was going out,
Or or something.
yeah, um, like I'd go and watch, Turner DeVee, Steve Thomas, E&M, and they didn't really do anything in terms of it's not like they were animated. Like if they looked up, you were kind of lucky. I remember making eye contact with Turner DeVee once. Must have been 90.
Is it a wink and, that kind of eye
Well, it was
contact?
like, yeah, like a little. I mean, I was
Oh,
like a little skinny 19-year-old. I was probably just his type. So yeah. But
well, I can tell you some stories about that. I'm not going
I'm
to, though.
sure. Well, we'll get you on again, Rachel. Don't worry about that. But yeah, it was at Sunday Central, and for some reason the night wasn't even that busy. I don't know why. It wasn't a bank holiday. It was like a normal Sunday night, and he was playing, and that's the closest. I never spoke to him. I never, like it was. But I just remember having this like eye contact once. But what I'm saying is those guys, and that's why I played like in terms of my like persona, if you like, was that I'd developed watching these guys that just got on with it's like they were just playing for themselves in the bedroom. That was what they were like, and then as my career took off, you'd got the likes of, Lisa Lashers or the Tidy Boys, where Andy Pickles is standing up on the thing with his arms in the air, and then after that, you had people like Andy Whitby and people who was
Mhm.
like the antithesis to me. The stuff he played and the way he performed was very different to me. But, yeah, it just never made any sense to be jumping around for 2 hours, like, I'm just let the music do the talking. That's what I always thought.
I think both are, okay, but I definitely
Oh,
think
yeah.
that even if you are, like, don't if you're not over animated or you don't wanna be who was the one, the Japanese guy? Is it Yoji
Baya
Biyoming?
Mahanika. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, like, being, "Oh my god, he is a, like, he's definitely got a personality and he's kind of being a
Yeah,
number, like, being a number." But, I think, like, it doesn't matter. You've got to have something if you're gonna, like, put a set together that's gonna
yeah,
kind of, like, be able to, like, draw in people and take them on a journey, and basically, I wouldn't necessarily say entertain them, but look after them for an hour and a half or however long it would be, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Um, I think you need to be an artist of some kind to be able to do that. I really do believe that. Um, and be I don't know, was I happy? I'd be happy if I could, like if I could make people feel happy or something. That
yeah,
would
yeah,
be, for me, my job.
yeah, yeah. I saw a good video, a guy on YouTube, it was a few months ago, but he was saying about how when you're mixing one track to another, the it's the energy transfer, he was saying. So it's like some tracks there's certain tracks, if you play that one after that one, it's not gonna work because the energy is and a good DJ can manipulate the energy.
And totally,
I
that's totally it. For me, it's like, you're being like, I know this is, I've heard this a lot, and sometimes I laugh because I just think, "Oh, that's a bit pretentious." But they would say a DJ is like a shaman because you're basically playing, with the energy of the room, and you're taking people on sometimes a journey or an experience, and you're able to do that through manipulating, uh, sound. Um, and of course, the body responds to obviously sound, bass. I always used to think, like, when I was making tracks, I really want the bottom end to be like really raw. So if someone is taking an ecstasy, they're going to be able to like really like feel that bass and like and then I also used to think that techno was very much in like on the top, like the high end and all the
yeah,
percussive at the top,
yeah,
that
yeah,
really sharp, like so it'd be in your head, and then kind of like bringing the two together in the heart. But that's totally what a DJ to me, I mean, I think the best DJs were able to do that. So you would build a set. So you would start off, and then maybe you'd take it up, you'd go faster and faster. And then maybe you'd have your peak track or 2 tracks, and then you take them down, and then maybe go up again and then down again. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I mean, that's kind of one way I think of thinking of being a really fantastic DJ.
yeah,
Don't know. For me, it would be like that if I was on the floor, on the dance floor, and a DJ, or a set was able to do that, then that's just like magic for sure.
yeah,
That is magic. And you're also being in charge, you're being in control, you're kind of like making people dance to your tune. It's a kinda, in a way, a spiritual thing. It can be a spiritual thing. Yeah, and it brings people together. It's fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, that's the interesting thing, like, I'm sure you've played all over the place, but, like, you know, uh, whether it's, Insomniacs in Sheffield or playing in Moscow or playing in Japan or, there's other than, the stuff we make, there might be a little vocal snippet that they don't understand, but everything else, like it's the music, the there's no language barrier, is there? It's just
Absolutely. Thank God, right?
yeah,
It's like it's the universal, I mean, absolutely, like the universal joining, coming together force, and I kind of feel like whether it's drugs as an accessory or alcohol as an accessory or whatever it is as a helper, music can do it by itself, and yeah, thank God, thank the Lord for that, and I'm so privileged and proud to have been part of a scene, um, there already I missed out on the rave scene in England, in London, and I kind of feel that that's the one thing where I kind of feel like, "Oh, I wish I'd been part of that whole kind of like that generation of kids, like, who are out there in community, dancing, coming together. No division, none of all this, like, rubbish that we hear about all the time, and just people on the dance floor having a really good time and finding themselves or, finding something in music.
mm, yeah, and finding
How
friends. I mean, people that, some of my best friends now is I met in that club 30 years ago.
Oh, wow, really? Yeah. I'm trying to think. Um, mm, yeah, my life's moved on. Well, I say moved on. Um, when I stopped DJing, I became, a yoga teacher,
Ah, right,
uh,
okay.
which is in a way, it's a very, very similar thing. And I've actually I've read articles, about the similarity of being, a yoga teacher and a DJ. And I think quite a lot of ex-old DJs have become, yoga teachers because it's a
Right.
very similar thing. You go into a room for a period of time, a yoga teacher's, kind of like class might be an hour long.
Mm,
Maybe my original ones were an hour and a half, same length as the sets that I used to play
mm,
were an hour and a half. I don't know what they do now. But you would be, you've got people on the floor in front of you, you're looking after them, you're being mother,
mhm.
and you're taking them on a journey. In a yoga class, you can do that in the same way as you can, as a DJ
Mm.
who's taking people on that experience. Did you feel that? Did you, as a DJ, feel that that's what you were doing?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Did
that's
you
the
set?
no, never. No. The closest I ever did to planning a set is that what you said? Planning set?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
The
plan a set?
closest I ever got to planning was when I did my 10-hour set at Storm, when I did my sort of retirement gig, and I basically
Hours.
10 hours, yeah, and at the end of the night, I gave all my vinyl away, but I was conscious that I would never play the vinyl because I knew I was gonna give it away, so I was very sort of it took me a long time to go through 'cause it's a weird feeling that I don't have at the moment because I'm sort of back into playing, but every time I've played over the last 10 years, which is probably average once a year, when I'm playing a set, I'm like, "This might be the last time I ever play this track," you know? So when I was doing the vinyl, because I played it the full 10 hours on vinyl,
Wow.
and, so I basically sectioned off I had a box of, because I started playing it I played 8 p.m. till 6 a.m. Um,
Wow.
and so I had an 8 till 10 box and a 10 till 12 box so that when it
Oh,
got to 10
yeah,
o'clock, even if
yeah.
there was stuff that I wanted to still play, I just moved it to the side and got the next box because I thought otherwise I'm gonna get to like 4 a.m. and I'm still gonna be playing Sharp Boys. So
Yeah, yeah,
I sort of I forced myself through
of
that. That's
course.
the closest I ever got to playing to planning.
But can I
Set.
ask you, when you were DJing a lot and you were driving around,
Mm.
as the way I'm sure you did you not go from one club to another club and then you'd put your records, your vinyls, back in the same sleeve, and then weren't they in the same order? And then you'd basically play the same, more or less, the same set because you'd put them to
I'd
really.
probably have so if I was doing a 2-hour set, there would probably be 5 or 6 records, that I like the promos, the stuff that I'd got that no one else would have, or the real sort of hot tracks at the time. There's stuff that you would kinda know that you were gonna play in a set, I guess. Um, but then when I got really busy and I might be doing a 11 till midnight and then a 2 till 3 and then a 5 till 6 somewhere else. So then, they'd kinda be different. I wouldn't be playing the tracks I played in that early set, I wouldn't be playing at the end and vice versa. So, but yeah, I never, um I guess there's a couple of mixes like the one I mentioned earlier. There was some mixes that I would do, I would know that just because the mix was so good, I thought I can't not do it, So I had a couple, like that, but
Mm.
yeah, I remember, and I've told this story before, there was a guy, a young guy, I don't know whatever happened to him, his name was Elliot Tordoff, and I was talking to him this is before I was, like, I was just playing locally for some friends, and he was telling me how he'd planned his set, and he'd practiced it over and over and over, so he knew exactly, when everything was gonna drop, and I just said to him, "What happens if your first 3 tracks are his last 3 tracks?" He's like and then he went, "I never thought of that."
Yeah, I kind of like, yeah, I totally get you, and also, you'd go to one club and another club, and it would be a totally different crowd, and so
Yeah,
even though you'd intended to start with that, sometimes you couldn't because this crowd would be completely like they'd only just got into the club and it wasn't the right time to play that kind of like track.
exactly, yeah.
Because I would also do that. So when I say I would plan a set, I would always pick out a few tracks that I would think, oh, I kind of want to start in at this kind of speed and this kind
Yeah,
of like rhythm. And then I would want to take it up. And then I would have a couple of tracks, like you said, your peak tracks, whatever they were, like Burning Up, Tony DeVitt for me would
yeah,
probably be like a something like that. And then take it down. And then but it wasn't always that right situation. Sometimes I would turn up at a club and there would be no one on the dance floor, and I couldn't
right.
start or, or it would be like the DJ before had been like, and it was like, "Oh, shit. Okay, well, I might just stop and then just start completely, or do I take it? Do I carry on and then bring it down so I've got more
Yeah,
control?"
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing I guess that's the mark of a good DJ where you can choose what you're gonna do and not go, "Oh, shit, what do I do now?" Because they've left me where I didn't expect to be or, um yeah, I think that's you've got to be versatile enough to be able to sort of handle whatever's thrown at you. I think the main thing is the main takeaway for anyone that's, I can't imagine there's many up and coming DJs listening to this. Everyone's our age, but
Yeah.
I think the takeaway is that everyone should be kind of respectful of the night. So, if you're playing earlier, play something that's respectful of the person that's coming on after you. So
Yeah,
that, and using trade as the example of the perfect
absolutely.
progression, that's what it should be.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. And I can remember like used to come on sometimes after Tony. I remember, was it Vague in was it Sheffield? Or was it there was a really amazing, or Trash. I think there was a club
Trash
called,
in Sheffield, yeah, yeah.
it was,
So,
was it Marie, a lovely woman called Marie. Anyway, and I remember like thinking, "Oh my God, like how on earth am I gonna go on after Tony?" But he'd see me and he'd always bring it down. He'd play like a sharp style track, just kind of like mix it in perfectly, of course, to
yeah,
his last, whatever it was, his last couple of
yeah,
tracks. So yeah, absolutely you would. And then sometimes no, always you would. Um, yeah, man, God, I'm thinking of, tripping down memory lane here.
yeah.
It's so good to talk
Well,
about all.
I'll tell you what, love, Turner de V, bringing it down for you to play. That's an awesome way to
Yeah.
finish, I think. So, but what we're going to do, if you're cool with it, we're going to just hang around and do a little bit extra for the members. But for this part, Rachel Auburn, thank you for how long's it been? Last 40 years, I guess, and everything that you've contributed, and for being such a beautiful guest.
Thank you. It's a
Thanks, love.
pleasure.
I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.
You are listening to Hardhouse History with Paul Glazby.